Today, I say to you that the challenges we face are real. They are serious and they are many. They will not be met easily or in a short span of time. But know this, America, they will be met.
And he is now the 44th President of the United States. Barack Hussein Obama took a short 35-word oath today as the people of America and the rest of the world watched.
Thank you.
In a crowd estimated to be about 2 million people at the National Mall, Obama swore to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution on the same Bible used by Abraham Lincoln. And joining us now in Montreal, Ian MacDonald, editor-in-chief at Policy Options, a public policy magazine. Political scientist Bruce Hicks is with us. In Toronto, political scientist Art Yurgenson. He teaches American foreign policy at the University of Toronto. And in Washington, D.C., joined now by Solon Simmons, professor at George Mason University, specializing in American politics. He teaches at the university's Institute for Conflict Analysis and Resolution. And Solon, if we can start with you, a couple conflicts that Americans think about a lot. And your world changed after 9/11 when George Bush, as president, really changed the way Washington dealt with terrorism, no longer relying on a reactive law enforcement approach. Instead, the United States went on the offensive, employed a preemptive, more offensive strategy, and so they wanted to go right to the root of the problem, which at that time was Afghanistan. Speak to us about the place Afghanistan takes in the American consciousness and what this president is going to do about Afghanistan.
Well, Afghanistan is quickly forgotten in the United States as we have become more involved in Iraq, and yet it has always been a very important battleground between the old Soviet Union and the United States. In fact, many argue that we lured the Soviet Union into Afghanistan so that they might experience their own Vietnam and starve themselves in their own way, the same way we had done in Vietnam. I think that now there's a sense that that was the battle that needed to be fought. It's fought and needs to be fought in some ways because it's what we call a failed state. It's a society that's fallen apart. It's in dire poverty. It's in crisis. And when you let places fester, extremist ideologies can take hold. And of course, this is the place where training camps were and so on. So Obama has made it clear that that's the battle that needs to be fought. And I think this is quite disturbing about Obama's foreign policy. If there's a disturbing aspect to it, is his willingness to take the fight there. You know, he says we are willing and ready to lead, and this is not a very dovish speech that he gave. And if we happen to engage, if we ramp up the attacks there, I think we'll look back on those aspects of the speech as important. So we should imagine that we'll have a shifting from Iraq emphasis to Afghanistan influence. And remember, what's really important about Afghanistan as well is Pakistan. This is a nuclear power. It's been at war, I think, 4 times with India since 1947. It's a place that we all need to pay attention to and shares the border, and it's the Pashtun Hills that we're worried about. That is the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. So this is a hotbed. It's not exactly clear how this is going to work out, and he will need to put a lot of attention there.
Ian MacDonald, it was a pretty easy job to overthrow the Taliban. It just took a few months. A Western-friendly leader was put in place, and things look like, job well done. But the situation appears to be worse today than it was back then. Why is that the case? And of course, Canadians cared, very much about Afghanistan because we have people in danger there.
We have 2,500 troops on the ground in southern Afghanistan, as you know, Dan, and the Americans have about 30,000 in the NATO contingent. And President Obama is talking about either rotating or deploying another 30,000 American troops to Afghanistan, and he's been very interested during the campaign in the Pakistan issue, in the enclaves that the Taliban and Al-Qaeda have in the wilds of western Pakistan. So I agree that, in a certain sense, beware of what you wish for. Another 30,000 American troops on the ground in Afghanistan are going to have an impact, but they're also going to get a lot of attention, and maybe not always the kind of attention we would like.
Bruce Hicks, is a surge in Afghanistan politically palatable, and will it work?
Well,
A surge is definitely necessary. I think NATO has made it very clear that the forces in Afghanistan are undermanned, that you know, they don't have the capacity currently to reach any of the objectives that have been set for them. Additionally, American commanders have been critical of all the coalition forces in Afghanistan, that they haven't been properly trained for this sort of insurgency warfare that takes place. So there needs to be a rethinking of Afghanistan. The interesting question for Canada will be, what will Canada do if President Obama, you know, asks Canada to extend its mission? It very much all parties were united in wanting to pull out, but that was very much a George Bush world. And with the capital that Obama has and his popularity in Canada, does that change the equation from the parliamentary motion?
We should point out, Dan, that General Petraeus, David Petraeus, who ran the surge in Iraq, is now the U.S. Central Commander, the CENTCOM, based in Tampa, and he's in charge of Afghanistan. So he's going to, you know, he's known to be a very able field commander, and you know, he may make a positive difference.
Arndt, what do you make of this?
Well, I would say that certainly a surge seems to be something that is necessary, but I wouldn't necessarily put too much faith in the success of that surge. I'm not sure that the problems that the U.S. and the Western powers in general are facing in Afghanistan are primarily military problems. I think there has to be ultimately a political solution in Afghanistan as elsewhere. And as problematic as the situation in Afghanistan is, and as much as it's going to occupy the center ground of the Obama administration to begin with, there are a whole slew of other crises around the world that he's going to have to confront. We of course saw what happened in the Middle East over the last couple of weeks, but the India-Pakistan situation, given the attacks in Mumbai, are certainly as alarming, if not more so, than some of the other crises. And let's not forget about Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and a whole slew of other failed states. Darfur, of course.